Stockholm, Sweden, June 12, 1972. Mrs. Indira Gandhi, Prime Minister of India, arrived today to address the first United Nations Conference on the Human Environment. She was met by the Secretary General of the conference, Mr. Maurice, who escorted Mrs. Gandhi to the rostrum.
It is clear that the environmental crisis which is confronting the world will profoundly alter the future destiny of our planet. No one amongst us, whatever our status, strength, or circumstance, can remain unaffected.
For 11 days in June 1972, Stockholm was a magnet for everyone concerned with the environment. 1,200 official delegates from 113 nations were in Stockholm for the first international conference on the human environment. The meeting, first proposed to the United Nations by Sweden and approved by the General Assembly in 1968, attracted worldwide attention. In 4 short years, the topic of the human environment had gone from the back pages of newspapers to make headlines on page 1.
The very fact that the conference began with 113 participating countries with very high-level delegations from those countries, this in itself represented a very significant step forward, because this demonstrated more than anything else the real concern of the majority of countries in the world. And those countries which did not participate in the conference did not remain away because they were disinterested in the issue. They remained away because of another political issue that didn't have any direct relevance to environment. So those who were here because they were interested. Those who were not here because they weren't interested in the environment issue.
Countries with but a small fraction of the world population consume the bulk of the world's production of minerals, fossil fuels, and so on. Thus, we see that when it comes to the depletion of natural resources and environmental pollution, the increase of one inhabitant in an affluent country at his level of living is equivalent to an increase of many Asians, Africans, or Latin Americans at their current material levels of living.
There were many who felt that coming to Stockholm would draw world attention to their own problems. Among them, a group of victims of mercury poisoning from Minamata, Japan, engaged in a campaign against the industrial firm that had caused their affliction.
We heard about this environmental convention here.
There was also a group of American Indians from Black Mesa, Arizona.
We were able to make it here because we want to bring this message to the world because of our knowledge, of ancient knowledge that's foretold that if we do not stop these things now, we're going to suffer many problems later.
In 11 long days and nights, the conference accomplished all it had set out to do. It approved an Earthwatch program to measure and identify environmental problems on a worldwide scale, as well as an action plan to protect man and his habitat from further degradation. But the committee working on the Declaration on the Human Environment had been given the hardest task: to draft a set of guiding principles for the preservation of our planet. One that more than 100 jealously independent nations could agree upon was a major achievement. In its final form, the declaration contained a preamble and a set of 26 principles stating, among others, that man has a right to an environment of quality and the responsibility to protect and improve that environment for future generations. That environmental deficiencies caused by underdevelopment could best be cured by development, and that nations should cooperate to develop international laws to compensate victims of those forms of pollution that cross national boundaries.
May I consider that in view of the spontaneous approval of the representatives, it is the wish of the conference to adopt the draft resolution by acclamation? It is so decided.
I think the lasting message of the Stockholm Conference will be the realization that man has come to one of those seminal points in his history where his own activities are the principal determinants of his own future, and where he realizes that he has got to subject those activities to a much more responsible management and control than he has in the past. And this has tremendous implications, not only for his relationship with the natural systems on which his life depends, but more particularly for his relations with his fellow man on this planet. And I think the awareness of this and the beginning of a program of international action to deal with this will be one of the most durable effects of the Stockholm Conference.
A few days later, the visitors were gone, and the city was back to normal. But for many people, Stockholm will always be connected with the first international attempt to do something about environmental problems.